Nathaniel The Great, what's good with you, man?
What's good, my dude? What's good?
Welcome to Incognito TV, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man.
Hey, likewise, man. Hey, how's life treating you, man?
It's been good. I ain't gonna lie. This has been a very interesting season since I dropped the project. Just being able to move around and grow my base and put out something that I care about. Everything's been moving at a crazy pace.
Well, since this is your first time on the platform, I want to get your whole background and whatnot since your first time here. Mm-hmm. So, you're from Brooklyn, right?
Yep, Brooklyn, New York.
How was that, like, growing up, childhood-wise and whatnot?
For us in Brooklyn, it's pretty, I would say, dynamic because you have so many different personalities that all come together that usually have a common goal, which is hustling, you know what I'm saying, winning. Yeah. As you know, some of the other great artists is from there, Biggie, Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. So as an artist in Brooklyn, we have some amazing people to look up to. Right. A lot of people to compete with as well because there's a million artists in Brooklyn. So I think it's a healthy competition coming up in Brooklyn.
As far as your early childhood, like your interests or whatnot, when did music start getting prevalent in your life?
I grew up singing in church, so my whole family is musicians actually. So it was always there, like from birth, I was doing music. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there a certain thing that drove you towards the style of music that you do now? Or absolutely.
Was there any type of early influences as far as what you were listening to at first?
Definitely. So me and my brothers, we started an R&B group when we was kids. In the house, we would sing a lot of Boys to Men, some Temptation joints, Jagged Edge, 112, a lot of the real music. Shy, If I Ever Fall in Love, we always sung that at competitions. Before really approaching the music industry, we always did local talent shows, winning trophies, winning prize money, and that kind of allowed us to see that music is something that we could actually do on a professional level. So
at what point did you start taking music serious? Like, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life?
I would say
a career.
14. Okay. 14, I'm like, you know what? We started putting music out to get like real consumer feedback. Like iTunes was a thing at that time. There was no Apple Music. There was no Spotify. There was iTunes. There was Google Play. There was MySpace. Those days, and we started uploading stuff online. And I think like 14, I realized, I want to be a star. Okay.
All right. So how did that lead to you getting was it your first record deal that you had? Your only record deal you had with RZA, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
How did that come about? And how did you link with RZA and all that?
That was pretty crazy because what I used to do, I approached the game as a songwriter. I stopped singing for a little while to kind of just get my foot in the door. Looking at Neo, looking at Kerry Hilson, some of the dopest writers that found their way in. So I said, let me approach the game as a writer. I started working with a lot of producers for placements. The first artist to jump on a record for me was Papoose. He jumped on a record for me. Okay. And then from there, he introduced me to, I believe DJ Absolute heard me on a record I did with Papoose.
I'm sorry, so this was with Papoose. Around what time was this?
This was a minute ago. This had to be like 2012. This is early Papoose. Okay. Very early Papoose. But after I get on a record with him, that would be in the first record that I was on a radio on. I was on a hook of that song. It was called King of the Hood. Yeah. DJ Absolute heard that, and DJ Absolute was really good friends with RZA at the time. Absolute ended up putting me on a record with French Montana, Ace Hood, and Pusha T called Untouchable. RZA saw the traction. Funk Flex was playing my records in New York, and I got called into the studio. RZA actually ended up putting me on a single that the Wu-Tang did together called, it was a reunion project called A Better Tomorrow. He let me write the leading single called Keep Watch. And once I put that out and then the world ate it up, he said, yo, let's do the deal. Okay. Yeah, so that's how I ended up getting that deal.
That's what's up. I know there was some conflicts as far as like the direction of your career with the deal that you signed. Yeah. What were some of the things that you wish that you would have spoke up more about as far as like the direction of your career?
I feel like I would have literally had more input in what singles we going with. I literally was just recording and letting everybody else decide. Right. And then the management and the label was on two different sides of the table, so now it just left me in the middle stuck. And I realized that if I would have been more vocal and just picked, stood up for my own opinion on what I should go with, at least I would feel better about the whole entire situation. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining about it now, but it's just, I was young and I was just letting them run with it. And I feel like it's a mistake. You got to speak up. Okay. Yeah.
And then touch lastly on that. I heard from a different interview. I heard on a different interview that you had that you don't get a manager unless you have something to manage, and don't sign a deal unless you have something to bargain with that you can, make it a partnership.
Right.
What are some things that you could tell like an artist when it's time to actually have a manager and when it's time to actually sign a deal, as far as like, make it like a partnership, like you said?
Got you. That's a good question. I mean, one of the things that I would particularly look at if I'm looking for a manager, first I'll look to see am I being overwhelmed by tasks? Am I so busy outside of the creative side and then trying to handle the business? Am I so busy that I'm dropping the ball on things? I'm missing dates, missing schedules, overlapping calendar events. That's what management is. Like, let's say a McDonald's. You got a McDonald's in here, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to make sure the inventory is there. Somebody has to make sure the burgers are stacked. Somebody got to make sure, you know what I mean? And that's the position of the manager, just making sure things are put together properly so that you can be great, so that McDonald's can be the brand that it is. Somebody got to be doing the nitty gritty. So for an artist, I would say creatively, when you're handling that and you're handling the business, but once you start to realize that it's too much for you to juggle, you got to put somebody in that position. And I think the title manager, that's a loose title. They don't necessarily have to be a manager. It could be an assistant. It could be a partner. It could be, you could change the name of the roles. But once you feel like your hands are getting too full, that's when you bring on management, in my opinion. And now when it comes down to a deal, once you put yourself in a position of, first off, you're making money, right? Because you're building leverage. You built a fan base. You've figured out radio, you figured out merch, you figured out touring. The more these things you can figure out on your own, it's less work for a label to feel like they have to do when they step in. That's one. And the more value you have, the more leverage you have in the game, the more skin in the game, the more stake you can control, because you actually are handling these tasks. If you're not able to handle any of this, a label will step in and say, well, here's some money, we're going to let our staff handle this, but we take 90% of everything, because we are putting up this bread and we are handling these tasks. If you handling at least this half of it, the creative side, you handling some production, you handling merch, you handling touring, and let them handle, let's say, radio promotion, let's say the promo campaign, the marketing, y'all kind of split it 50-50.
Right.
And financially, if you're able to take some of that risk as well, putting some of your own bread up, that's just more bread for you to make on the back end. So don't look for a label unless you're able to handle multiple things on your own, because then you can sit at the table with a different conversation.
So let's get into your music. You know what I'm saying? You got an album out that's called Aquarius.
Yes, sir.
I listened to it today, and I can actually tell you that I did not skip one track.
Thank you.
Which I don't do often. I do not do it often.
Appreciate that.
Good Girl stood out to me.
Oh, man.
You Know It.
Nice.
Above Average with Music Soul Child. How did that track come about? How did y'all link up for that?
First and foremost, music is my idol. I grew up listening to all his albums. I was buying everything from I Just Want to Sing to Just Listening to Soul Star.
Yeah.
Listen to all his stuff. When he had the 20th anniversary of I Just Want to Sing, I think that was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Atlanta celebrated it. I seen different people celebrating, and I'm like, yo, I want to throw this man a look. I know what this album did for me. I know what it meant to me. So I said, yo, send me the artwork of your album. I want to put it up in Times Square on a major billboard. Right. So I did that. I made a phone call, got it up in Times Square, and I just sent it to him like, yo, man, congratulations and thank you for your contributions to music. Yeah. From then he was like, yo, man, I really appreciate it. Like, that's love. We followed each other. Me and his publicist followed each other. Shouts to Mocha. A year later, I'm in the studio vibing, and I hear the beat. A producer sent me the beat to Above Average. Yeah. And it was something about the way the drums was hitting, the way the vibe was, and what I started to sing about in terms of the concept. I'm like, damn, this is some shit that if I could only get Music Soul Child on this record. At that moment, it was far-fetched. I'm like, this shit may sound crazy, but if I could get music on this record would be incredible. Right. I said, fuck it, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I hit them up, I said, yo, bro, I got this joint, man, and I just feel like this is a record that you belong on this. They say, yo, send it over. Let us hear it. I sent it with the open verse on it, just prepared. I sent it with first verse, chorus, and then the open second verse, and then the chorus back in. Just in case in case you feel like you're in the studio at the moment when you hear it, you feel like playing around with it, just don't hesitate. Right. Yo, I sent it to them, no lie. A week later, they like, yo, check your email. I pulled it up, I'm listening, and it's coming up to that open verse, and I heard his voice. I said, oh, nah. I said, nah, this is crazy. And I got it on my page. I actually filmed listening to it, and I put up that moment of me hearing it. So if you look on my IG, it's somewhere down there, the moment that I heard his verse, and I didn't even put the record out independently yet. Like, I put it on the album, but I didn't do a single campaign on it yet. It's coming. I'm gonna roll it out properly.
Right.
Send it to all the radio stations, do some marketing, videos, music video.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was a blessing to have him, man. He's a good dude.
Man, I mean, from what I heard he's a very nice dude, very good dude, you know, very soulful dude. Yeah. But yeah, that track, I love that track.
Thank you.
And then Sorry also stood out to me. Pure stood out to me. And then the last two tracks on the album, you got Cash Out and Never Been Black.
Yeah.
I heard both of those, but they're also older tracks also. Was that like you had to have those on the album, or like?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I like both of those tracks, but like as far as like the album like itself, it was just something that you must have to have on the album.
Yeah. For one, because Cash Out was like the single at the time when I put it out. It was on all the radio. I'm like, damn. I had to re-release Cash Out once or twice after the pandemic, because it was just like pandemic came, slowed it down. Then I moved to Atlanta and got one of their artists, Amaretta, on a remix. So now it gave Cash Out a breath of fresh air. Right. So that's why I had to bring that back out. And then Never Been Black, I feel like I've been dropped it. I dropped it after the George Floyd situation. But I'm like, I want people to still hear this message. Right. I'm gonna put this on the album, and I'm gonna close out the album with it. If you notice, it's like the last one on the album for a reason, because it's like, yeah, we got love, we got talking about girls, we talking about cash out, whatever. But at the end of the day, something gotta matter. Our people matter. What we go through matter. Right. So therefore, I'm gonna leave it at this, where if I can leave you with something, it's this. You know, it's the message that's needed that can bring us together.
Let's transition over to Mor's Tour.
Okay.
And because currently you're on the Mor's Tour with Scott Morris. How has that relationship been as far as, you know, in the experience so far?
I mean, it's fascinating because you visit these different markets and you see there's a need for exposure. People want to be seen. People want to be heard. People want to meet each other. Like, for the most part, I'm hosting every show on the tour too. Some shows I don't perform at. Some shows I do. I just fill out the environment, fill out the room. My goal is to make sure I get all the artists on first. Right. But throughout the night, we always do like networking moments where we make sure people are following each other. Like, DJ, cut the music. Yo, my dude right there, did you get his IG? Oh, yo, did you get her? Did you meet her yet? Yeah, go ahead, go over there. Like, we do that because we want to really bring people together. Right. And I mean, it's such an honor. Like, right now we're in Orlando. There's this artist that was at the show yesterday in Tampa that's drove over here to be on another stage with us, to be a part of it. So it shows us that we're cultivating something. Right. You know, people are leaving with new followers, new friends, new supporters, new artists to support. And for me, I'm seeing it from an executive side. It's bigger than me just being an artist. I'm also looking for artists to possibly sign. You know what I mean? I'm going to be launching my label soon. So there's some aspects to it that I feel like this was a much needed experience for me. I didn't go into this realizing it was going to be this impactful. Right. I thought it was just going to be me just going out there to try to get some shine. But when I realized I'm here to elevate everybody else, that's more fulfilling than anything. And I still get my shine. If that's what I want, I still get that. Right. That's not even a thing no more. Now I'm trying to make sure everybody else is shining, and it makes us, it's helping us to find our purpose in this shit, for real. It's a way bigger purpose than what we all thought.
How did you and Morris link? Like, initially, like, how did y'all get together?
It's crazy because he used to do this tour called the Dean's List Tour years ago, 10 years ago.
And he had another one called what, No Boys Allowed Tour or something like that too?
Something like that, yeah. He did a few different renditions of college tours. Yeah. The Dean's List was something I used to see from far away. I used to look on, Twitter at that time. And he was like posting it, and we, it's funny because I reached out to him a couple of times, at least once or twice, and he left me on red or some shit. He was
really?
He was like, get the fuck out of here. But way later, fast forward, a lot of things happened, and then he ended up DMing me. I left his shit on red, and then we finally, he hit me when he finally reached out. I was like, yo, bro, I've been trying to connect with you for years. Right. But I feel like, I guess I just worked up my value up until that point to where he's like, yo, this guy, I need to get him on something. Right. He pulled me out to a show, and I was nowhere where I'm at now, but he already was including me in his stuff. Right. And then from there, we realized, yo, there's a lot more to this. We both ended up moving to Atlanta the same month, last year. And from there, we became like brothers because we was all we had. Yeah. It was nobody else to rely on. There was nobody everybody else from New York that was there with us. So we worked these rooms together. And like when we in Atlanta, I let him kind of like move like my manager in Atlanta to a degree. Like if I walk in the room and it's a bunch of connects in the room, he's the one running around the room like, yo, Nathaniel the Great is here. He did this, he did that. Come meet him. He's the one that's going and pulling in the resources.
Right.
So and then on his tour, I got him. So it's like I'm supporting his shit and part of his shit. And then in Atlanta, he's wholeheartedly a part of my project, my everything, my movement, my team. He's helping me do everything I'm doing.
Right.
So it's a real dope partnership, man.
What would be like the most benefit that you're getting from this tour? Like if you could tell another artist like why they would join Mor's tour.
Man, not for nothing. You're gonna get seen, you're gonna get heard, you're gonna get your time, your spotlight, you're gonna meet a lot of people. You are going to meet a lot of people, every city. We have Airbnbs for them artists to stay in. Interviews are set up for them. Transportation is set up for them. Like we move together. We like a family. Us in the Airbnb, we arguing over cereal and milk, and like it's like you really grow with the people that's in that house with you.
Yeah.
We exchange information, a lot of information. All the resources that we all use for our personally for our projects to help get us moving, we share it with each other so that we all of us are growing. We all learning and growing from each other. So an artist on one of these tours, you get everything. It's a one-stop shop, and you learn a lot. It's like even in the Airbnb, we do workshops. We set up times to share, to teach each other. So yeah, it's more than just the music. It's like cultivating a family and learning how to be a boss at the same time.
Nathaniel, I wish nothing but the best for you. You know what I'm saying? Blessings and prosperity. Also, your album charted ninth, right? On the charts?
Yeah, man.
What chart was that again?
The R&B charts.
R&B chart, iTunes?
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. So, I mean, before we go, anything else you want to say to the people before we go?
Man, I just want to say stay at it, keep going, keep doing your thing, and thank you for this interview and taking the time out, man. I appreciate you.
Likewise, man. Likewise, man. So, hey, it's Incognito TV, Nathaniel the Great, and we out.
Peace.